Hi everyone, Dana here, and I'm taking you on my afternoon walk and to talk a little bit about tips, tricks and strategies in regard to traveling. So I've had a few inquiries lately saying what tips have you got in regard to continuing, I guess, on our health and fitness as we are traveling. So I wanted to share with you what I discovered just on my recent holiday to Darwin, and I guess I want to start with, I was surprised just how difficult it actually is to stay on track when traveling. So I've written down a few different things I want to chat about today, and the first thing I think that you need to decide when you're traveling is, what is your goal? So when you think about that, you know, different strokes for different folks. So you might say, well, my goal traveling is I want to maintain the weight that I've lost and or my health and fitness that I've gained. Or you might say, I want to keep losing weight while I'm traveling. Or last but not least, you might say, well, I don't really want to worry about the food side of things, but I do want to continue in regard to my health, my fitness, and not losing that while I'm away. So I guess I would say to you to decide firstly what your goal is. So maybe grab a pen and paper if you're listening to this, because there's a few different things I'm going to be saying to you as we talk and go through all of this. So once you've decided on your goal, the next thing that I would recommend is, for those of you that have learnt about upstreaming, I might take you to the park, girls, here we go. Those of you that have learned about upstreaming, that would be the next thing that I'd do. So what is upstreaming for those of you that haven't learnt what that is? It's actually a thing by BJ Fogg. He wrote a book called Tiny Habits, and it is about how to unravel bad habits and how to create new habits. And one thing he talks about, sorry, my hair's in my eyes. One thing he talks about is being conscious of a thing called upstreaming. And what that basically means is you go a little bit into your future. And when we were doing one of our programs, it was on a weekly basis. We would say, what's happening next week that could potentially sabotage my exercises, my eating. So for instance, if it was Christmas time, it might be, well, I've got a Christmas party, or you might have a special occasion like a wedding, or it might be that you've got doctor's appointments. So when you normally do your exercise, you wouldn't be able to do it at that time because you're at a doctor appointment or a dentist appointment. So you sort of get the gist. So you sort of think about, when you're going on holidays, upstreaming. So for me, Rob and I went to Darwin. So I thought about things like the plane, I thought about things like the hotel, and I thought about, what do I need to do to enable me to continue with my health and fitness? I'm actually going to take you back, girls, along the road because it's been raining here today and you can see that's all wet and I won't get through. So for me, it was, I decided my goal was I wanted to keep my health and fitness, but I didn't, I don't need to lose weight, but I do like to eat in a healthy way because I get gut issues. So I didn't want to unravel in that way while I was away. I'm lucky I don't drink alcohol, so that wasn't a problem for me. But that was my goal, to maintain my health and fitness. So my upstreaming looked like this. I looked at, firstly, my exercise. So I thought, okay, I want to keep my health and fitness going. What needs to happen here? So for me, that was, let me pack my resistant bands with me because we were flying on an aeroplane. So I packed my big resistant band, I packed my booty band, and I packed another little band that I've been using for my shoulder rehabilitation. For those of you that are maybe traveling on holidays in a car, you might say, well, I'll just pack my kettlebell, my dumbbells and my resistance band. Or those of you that are maybe traveling overseas, you might just do my tip. Throw your resistant bands in, yeah? So the next thing I thought about upstreaming, what else do I need to pack? So for me, that was I need to pack my exercise gear. So I definitely needed to pack some of my exercise shoes. So I decided to wear those on the plane because that wasn't as much in my bag, and I just wore those with, comfortable clothes. And so you might choose to wear your exercise gear on the plane, but if you're the type that wants to get dressed up, make sure that you pack your exercise gear. So that would be the second tip that I would say is upstream. So exercise, think about what you're going to need, what are you going to wear, what can you take with you. For some of you it could be a skipping rope if you want to do cardio. So have a think about that. And then I would think about food. And so for me personally, I decided that when I got to Darwin, I would organise my snacks and I would organise some food so I'm not short on food that I have to get stuck eating crap food like takeaway. So I started with the plain, girls. So I decided, okay, grab a piece of fruit, grab some raw nuts, grab some protein bars, pop them in your bag. So that's what I did, and that worked a treat. So I was able to eat those. For those of you that are going internationally, you may not be able to eat, I don't know if you can take food on the plane or not. I don't think you're allowed fruit, but I think you're allowed packaged food. So you could definitely take a couple of protein bars. Make sure you've got water, and so just, common sense type things. So the next thing that I thought about there was when I arrived there, I already had a plan for me personally that I checked out the hotel. Do they have a gym there? No, they don't. Where is the gym? It was literally across the road. So I'm like, okay, happy days. In the first 24 hours, I'm going to find out about that gym, and I'm going to find out how I can join it for a week, how I can do 24/7 use so I can go at any time that suits me. And that's exactly what I did. So I found the gym when I got there, and then I went straight to Coles and I organised my protein. So I actually went to one of those chemists and I got 5 protein satchels, whey isolate protein for $10. I bought a shaker to put it in, and basically I had a protein powder shake every single day so that I was maintaining my protein to my body. Otherwise I potentially could be losing lean muscle mass. So that worked a treat as well. I also decided that I wrote down here, girls, the 80-20 rule. So I decided that I was going to have dessert, because I love dessert, the last night. So I decided I'm not going to do dessert every night. I'm going to do it just one night, and that was my last night treat in Darwin. And I also decided, because I love dessert, that I would buy some YoPro yogurts and I would put them in the fridge. And so when we got home from dinner, I would have my dessert at home in the form of a YoPro yogurt, and that really worked really well. I also decided that I would eat healthily most nights, but like one night we went out with Catherine and Cindy and I didn't eat well that night. We ate fish and chips, but that's okay. 80-20 rule once again. But all the other nights I looked at getting grilled protein, so like fish or something like that. And then I had it with vegetables, the salad. Once again, I stayed away from the chips, I stayed away from the alcohol, I stayed away from dessert, I stayed away from entrees, I stayed away from dips, chips, all that sort of stuff. So I didn't have any of that. Another thing that Rob and I did in Darwin was we actually ate our breakfast in the room. But if you have the accessibility to being able to go to a restaurant, think a protein source breakfast. So think, rather than having pancakes or fruit and cereal or things like that, definitely go eggs. So you'll go poached eggs or boiled eggs or even fried eggs. Steer clear of too much bacon because it is saturated fat, even though it is protein. But you know, you could have like poached eggs, you could have that on like one slice of sourdough, you could have that with one portion of avocado, you could have a black coffee, and happy days, you're there. So I would think about breakfast. I would stay on track with breakfast. With the snacks, I was doing things like the protein bars, fruit and nuts. I also was doing cheese and biscuits, like rice cakes and cheese. I made sure it was vintage, so it was hard cheese. And so I sort of stayed on track with all of that, which worked really well. And then with my exercise, it was movement. So I made sure every day I was getting in my 12,000 steps. For me, most days it was 20,000 steps. And I also made sure that I went and did my workout early every morning. So that was my goal though. My goal was to maintain my health and fitness. So your goal might be, I'm not going to worry about that. So you've got to remember, what is your goal? What are you wanting to achieve? And by upstreaming, planning and organizing, you should be able to get there. So it's that upstreaming that's super important. The other thing that I wrote down here is making sure that you've got an alarm. So I did take my alarm with me because I was working out super early, so I wasn't affecting Rob and my day going out and discovering Darwin. So I was getting up at 5 a.m, getting my workouts in, getting back by 7. We were doing breakfast, going out for coffee, and happy days. So just have a think about where you're going. Does the hotel have a gym? Does it have a restaurant? Are you able to ask the chef? Like another tip I did with all my meals of a night time, no sauce. I always ask for fresh lemon on the side, but I always ask to omit the sauces because sauce is often just laden with calories and it can just undo all your hard work. So I would definitely recommend that as well. So you got to think about things, girls, like alcohol. You might say, well, I'll have one night where I'm going to drink, or like me, one night where you're going to do dessert, or have a think about that sort of stuff before you go. And if you start to go into the poor me mindset of, oh, well, I'm on holidays, I still think that's a limiting belief to think you've got to eat crap food on holidays, because what are you doing? Just poisoning your body. Like, it's not really that great to be eating shit food on a holiday because you've got this limiting belief that that's what you're supposed to do. I don't believe you have to do that. I believe that we should be actually feeding our body nutrition every single day to support its health and wellness. That's giving your body the perfect holiday. So if you are in that mindset of poor me, have a think about that belief and have a think, is that a limiting belief? Like, is that sabotaging my long-term results? So I would seriously consider that. The other thing I wrote is you need to have some acceptance on holidays, and acceptance is that sometimes things just don't go to plan. Like, I know for me, I didn't work out for 2 days because it took me 2 days to organise the gym and to organise the 24/7 card, and so be it. That's just the way it is. And it took me like a couple of days to get sorted about restaurants and where we were eating and what was working for me and things like that. So don't be overly stressed, but do think about planning constantly. So when you go out for the day, never ever go anywhere without those snacks in your bag, so that you're not letting yourself down and you end up stuck at McDonald's or something like that. The other thing that I wrote here that I would do daily is I would reflect on the day and I would reset for the next day. So each night you might go, well, this is what worked, this is what didn't, what do I need to do to make the changes, and then the next day practice that new way, yeah? So for me, for instance, we might have gone to a restaurant that really wasn't, got the right food. So it would be, well, we're not going back to that restaurant because it really didn't support me in what I was wanting to achieve in my health and my fitness, being that that was my goal while I was away. So I really recommend you do that, right? Reflect, reset on a daily basis, and happy days. So let's quickly just go over that again. So tip 1, get your goal. You've got to understand what you're wanting to achieve. Tip 2 is upstream the whole time. Before you leave, think about the plane, think about when you're at the hotel, think about what you're doing over daytime, think about what you need to organize in regard to exercise, in regard to food, if that is your goal, yeah? And then I've got things like limiting beliefs. So if you think you should be drinking every day, or you think you should be doing dessert every night, or you think you should be eating sauces on all these fabulous dinners every night, be aware that if that's the choice you make, don't come home and be sad that you've put on weight. But if you're going away thinking, I'm happy to put on 2 kilos, I don't care, well, happy days, that's fine. Go for your hardest, but you might think, well, I do want to keep up my exercise. So ultimately, the choice is always yours at the end of the day as to what you're doing in regard to your health, your fitness, and your wellness. So remembering acceptance when things don't go well. So rather than getting frustrated and resentful and angry because things aren't going to plan, just remember, you're on holidays, things happen, you're out of routine, things can't be going perfect for you. Remember the 80-20 rule, good most of the time, naughty some of the time. Remember on a daily basis to reflect and reset. So girls, I guess they're my hot tips. I'm also going to be sharing some travel exercise routines with you to help you also, and hopefully that will keep you girls a bit on track with when you are traveling and not coming home to having to start again, because it's not a great feeling. It's all in habits, it's all in practice, being consistent, and at the end of the day you will really be proud of yourself to come home not having put on weight, maintaining your health, fitness and wellness, and going forth. All right girls, well have a great day. Hope you enjoyed my little talk, and we'll chat soon. See ya.